Some Binar lower deckers have an argument. Tyrannochillicus has conquered self-doubt and seized personal growth. And Agamus took over Plymeria in record time. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we're doing a review of Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 4, Episode 7, A Few Badgeys More, written by Edgar Momplaisir and directed by Bob Suarez. What's up, Cirroc? How are you today?
Good job on pronouncing that last name, because I had to look at it a few times. It's like, how would you pronounce that? So it's a French name, right? Is that what it is?
Well, here's the thing. I'm so glad you asked that question, because when I saw that name, I thought it was a typo, because it says M-O-M and the word plaisir, which means my pleasure in French, or my pleasure would be M-O-N plaisir. So I was like, let me check on this. So I actually looked it up on IMDb, and no, it is in fact M-O-M plaisir. So I'm like, was that just like a long lost typo from back in the day? Because if there was an N there, it would just mean my pleasure, which is just, So I don't know, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I would love to meet this fellow, Edgar, so he could tell us. Tell us officially.
Yeah, but it is French though, right? I'm noticing your.
It sure looks like it to my eyes. Okay. Like when I see Bob Suarez, I'm assuming that's Latin in origin, and when I see M-O-M and then the French word plaisir, I'm assuming that's French, but I don't know.
So mon plaisir is my pleasure.
Yeah. If it's M-O-N, not M-O-M. So that's why I'm a little confused and shy about it and uncertain.
It's all right.
Thanks.
We'll get you back right. Don't be Badgey or bad Badgey.
Right, bad Ryan, and what was the other one? Logicy.
Logicy.
Yeah, I love it. So this episode was nuts because it had all of the AI characters. It had Badgey, it had Peanut Hamper, it had Agamus with our good friend Jeff Combs doing that voice. Oh, I forgot to check. Was that J.G. Hertzler doing the voice of the Drukmani captain again, because he has done it once or twice before. So we'll have to check. It sounded like
him to me. It's crazy because every time I hear a voice that sounds remotely like J.G., I can't help but think of it.
Because it's such it's a rarity to hear a voice that sounds like him and it not be him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he's got a very particular, it's almost like a razor blade in the back of that voice that just adds a little sharpness. So we'll check when we hit our break.
He talks how I imagine a great pirate. Like I would imagine that's the voice of one of those great pirates back in.
Wow, totally. I can totally see. We've got to see J.G. Hertzler as a pirate captain one of these days.
Yeah,
that would be nuts. He'd be perfect for it, especially now with big beards and shaggy hair. And that would be good.
I could just hear him just bellowing out orders to different people. Just,
swab the deck.
Yes, exactly. So the Binars. That's a callback to what we just saw with Next Generation, right? Is that because I was like, I know I just saw this episode with Crush with Wesley and the Binars.
These guys, the episode I believe was called 11001001.
Oh yes,
if I remember correctly. We watched it with Denise Crosby, and we had a good time with that episode. It was a weird one, it was an interesting one, but we got our first Binar callback, I think, ever in the history of Star Trek. I don't think we've ever visited them again except for that one episode, and now this one. And what's funny is I was hoping, kind of predicting and hoping, that we would get one of these little lower decker scenes with the Breen, because they have like the Romulans acting like Romulans, and they have the Vulcans being so Vulcan and the Orions, and so we're like, who's going to be the next one? And the Ferengi being super Ferengi and stereotypical. And I was hoping we'd get the Breen so that we would get an entire scene not knowing what they're saying. They're like, and that would be so funny. And these guys did the joke, but even better by giving us the binars. And they're like acting like this and acting and laughing. And one guy's proud, the other guy's annoyed. I'm like, this is brilliant. Very happy with that.
Yeah, they gave it to us. I was actually looking for subtitles. I thought they could have written in something in there that would have made me laugh a little bit because they're so good at capturing characters, but they decided to go without the subtitles and just do how they did in the episode, which is we didn't know what the hell they were saying. But definitely good. We actually got a little bit of advancement in the story. I don't want to jump the gun, but the Binar situation does give us some advancement on the storyline, which they've been building on for this 4th season now. When they talked about that ship and how it interacted with the Binars, every episode has had some kind of interaction with that ship, and we're starting to learn more about it as this episode goes on. But yeah, I was curious to know if that was JG's voice too originally, because as soon as I heard it, now that was the Pakleds, right?
The Druk Mani. It was the Druk Mani. We met the Druk Mani. I think maybe it was either the 1st or 2nd season. He played the Druk Mani captain. I think he played it a 2nd time later. So I'm not 100% sure, but we'll check it during the break, and then when we come back on the 2nd segment, we'll have an answer for all of y'all.
So that's the Druk Mani. Okay.
Yeah. That is a race, as far as I know, that was created by Lower Decks. That is a new race that we've never heard of. It's one of the few, like we'd heard of the Pakleds,
but they also do like Pakled scavenging stuff, because it looked like they were doing the recycling kind of.
They were like stuff. It was a Druk Mani salvage ship is what it was. Right. So there've been a few races like that. There was also a race in Voyager called the Malon, if I remember correctly, and I feel like they're like trash collectors or junk collectors, something like that. So there are a few aliens out there, and I guess that's what the Druk Mani do as well.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a good intro, similar to the ones that we got before. I thought the Binar callback, you say that's the first callback to the Binar that we've seen since that Next Generation episode?
As far as I know, I think it's the only the 2nd episode that features the Binar. I don't even know if the Binar were ever even mentioned. Maybe they were mentioned in like a previous Lower Decks episode, because they're always, giving us a ton of references. But I think this is the 2nd time we've certainly seen them. Only.
Yeah.
So the Malon,
there were moments. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the Malon just to make sure. It says an economically minded society, technologically advanced. The Malon lacked the technology to recycle antimatter waste, which they produced in vast quantities. Blah, 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 blah. Hazardous theta radiation. What is it? Oh, vast quantities by waste export vessels. So that's what it was. Waste export is what they're into. I remember them as like junk collectors, or they just always had like trashy. Their ships were full of trash and junk, and they look nasty. Let me pull them up for you. I feel like there was another race though that was kind of junk collectors too, though. So that's the Malon right there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
they don't look that friendly.
Nah, but certainly an interesting race that was created for Star Trek Voyager. For me, it was one of the most memorable races because it kind of stood out in my mind.
Were they violent or?
Yeah, they were villains. They were the bad guy, antagonists.
Okay. Yeah.
Here's another guy. This guy's. Yeah, they had a lot of episodes with these guys. A lot of different kinds of looking Malon, a lot of different actors, a lot of different episodes. They fleshed them out for a few episodes, I think. Anyway, So
they look like the dinosaurs in that TV show back in the day. There was a TV show about dinosaurs. You remember? All
like the
living in a house
show
together.
Dinosaurs, it was like a sitcom.
I said sitcom. Yes, I think was
Yeah.
that the show?
With the not the mama.
Yes, 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 yes,
Oh
yes.
man, I feel like that must have been an ABC show. That feels like it's
I,
a
yeah,
TGIF or something like.
you remember that show? It's
I
I
remember that
watched it briefly,
it was
but
like a flash
yes,
in the pan where it like exploded and everybody wanted to say not the mama, right?
yeah, the
And
mama,
then
yes,
yeah, and then after a while, then it kind of just
it just
I don't
fizzled.
I think it lasted a few seasons, even though people
It
I
did.
certainly didn't pay attention to it after that.
I mean, it was the time of Harry and the Hendersons and all of that kind of. So those kind of
With
things were
John Lithgow, I
popular.
think.
Yeah, yeah, those things were popular. But that show, was it called Dinosaurs?
I think it
I
was
think
just
so.
called Dinosaurs. Yep, just Dinosaurs. Yeah.
And the other thing they remind me of is the Koopa from Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Oh, that guy. I could see that resemblance. Maybe it's a long lost relative or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, we got all the AI. Oh yeah, that's what we're talking about. The AI. We got Badgey.
Yeah.
We got Peanut Hamper. We got Agamus. We were
Agamus,
introduced to a new one that I love, Tyrannochilus. Lord Tyrannochilus.
Was it Lord? I didn't
Yeah.
catch the Lord.
At the megalomaniacal AI penitentiary. And oh, was it just me or those two drones that came out of Agamus? Remember those two black drones that came out? Those looked exactly like the drones from the Next Generation episode Arsenal of Freedom. It was towards the end of the first season, but they were silver in that Arsenal of Freedom. Yeah. They were floating around in that jungle planet, you know? These looked exactly like that, but they were black instead of like silver or something like that. But it has to be, they look the same. I'm hoping it's similar.
No, those were killer drones. These are gardening tools. These are gardening drones. No, I 100%. I can see what you're saying because it does. Now that you said that, yes, those drones look like the ones we saw in that episode that were coming after Denise, when Denise's character and Data, I think, had to figure out. It was like kept learning and figuring out new ways to defeat the phaser fire.
Yeah, exactly. Let me pull that up right now for everybody that's watching. Everybody that's listening in, you remember this episode. You don't need our help. You don't need visuals. But this little guy, and I believe the story is that they made it out of the art department made it out of an egg of pantyhose.
Oh yes, yes. I remember that. Yes.
Pantyhose egg or something like that, which confused the hell out of me. But apparently that's the story.
No, because they used to have pantyhose in a packaging. The way the packaging was in this like plastic egg container, and so yes, I remember the story that they were talking about, and I actually remember when pantyhose were in that plastic egg container.
I feel like I remember that too. I feel like everything should be in an egg container nowadays. Like why not? Like egg shaped, you know, like big ones are like ostrich eggs, little ones are like hummingbird eggs. I think it would be really cute.
Well, I remember also going to the arcade, like, and going in those game ball machines or whatever they were, and you get those prizes in those plastic little egg-like, containers. So yeah, that was the style.
Yeah, so that's what I was hoping, especially because this is, the theme for this episode was clearly just AI, and more AI, and every little AI character that they've created, plus other ones, and the Binars are kind of like not really AI, but pretty close to it, and those drones, I'm hoping were, I guess they really can't be
the Binars episode. Didn't they hack the computer and then opened up some kind of portal or something?
Yeah, they were kind of jerks. Yeah, they did something. And they were kind of being all like sneaky. They're like, like whispering like to each other. And they're like, I don't think I trust these guys. They're like, you can tell even in a different language when someone's talking shit about you. And I can tell these guys are saying something and they're like to each other. Right?
Yes, that's exactly what and that would have been funny to see in this episode. That's what I'm saying. A little bit of subtitles I was looking forward to, like those look at Bill over there. He thinks he thinks that, and like I can hear you. One of those kind of things.
You know what would have been super funny is if the subtitles were all ones and zeros.
That's another.
We're like, so we're like,
out to Carrie
oh my God,
on that one.
Yeah, thank you. We're like, I can't understand these guys. Oh, good. There's the subtitles. I still can't. It's like 1100001000 exclamation point. We're like, come on, man.
Exactly. That was a great one. I like that. That's an opportunity, that missed opportunity there.
Well,
they can always add it in the redub when they redo this.
Well, when we watch it, we'll check it on Paramount Plus and we'll see if there are subtitles or if it'll if it'll do the standard, it'll say like indistinct chatter is what it says a lot of times, but we'll check that out when it's on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, absolutely. There wasn't anything to the system that they were in. I didn't understand the grappler kind of, gaff that they were making with the Rutherford and having that grappler machine trying to,
at the very end,
the one that pinned Tendi against the wall. I just couldn't understand the grappler reference in general. Like, what was that, just some episode, or is that some kind of inside thing that I was missing?
I don't know. The only thing I know about grapplers, I remember grapplers were on Enterprise, but I do remember our good friend Lieutenant La'an from Strange New Worlds. We know that she loves grapplers. Now there's only one other thing I know about grapplers, and that is that Captain Benjamin Lafayette Sisko was an excellent grappler. We know that because he was in college he was wrestling Solok, the Vulcan. That's all I know about grapplers.
Speaking of, and actually, I'm glad you brought up Strange New Worlds, right? Because you just brought up La'an and Strange New Worlds. That made me think of the scene where Rutherford and Mariner are in their space suits, kind of running out towards Badgey. It kind of had the similar vibe to that love space scene between Spock and. There was it brought up that memory. I wouldn't say the vibe was similar, but the memory was brought up. I was like, oh, that reminds me of that scene when Spock and Nurse Chapel are doing that whole like outer space kind of floating to each other or something.
Yeah, it actually reminds me, now that you mention that, and also very close to this era, is the spacesuits used in Star Trek First Contact, which came out in 1996. It was the second Next Generation episode or movie. And check this out. It's really cool. There are three of them walking on the hull of the Enterprise in their spacesuits, fighting the Borg. Here's Worf with a mechleth in his spacesuit, which is pretty badass. It's a great scene, one of the best, most iconic scenes, and so that's cool. Now that you talk about that, it is similar. They were kind of similar in nature because they
were white. Yeah, they were all white with that little with the helmet like that.
Yeah, because
I wonder if that was the basis for the costume design.
Had to be, because the in-universe year is like within 5 or 8 years, I think, something like that. It's Lower Decks is pretty much like right after. A couple movies after that, if I remember correctly. So it's probably just like 5 or 6 years after when that takes place.
So it's in the Next Generation Deep Space Nine time, right?
Yeah, maybe it's like 10 years after, because it's basically there's Next Generation Deep Space Nine that we know overlap a bit, and then you have Deep Space Nine and Voyager that overlap a bit. And then the Next Generation movies are going through that overlap and that. And then when all that's over, I think like 2 years after all that's over is when Lower Decks season 1 starts. So they're really kind of the continuation of that era. So you could have, Picard and Janeway and Jake Sisko and whomever in Lower Decks. Like, for example, if Jake Sisko were to be in Lower Decks, he would probably be like late 20s, for example, in Lower Decks, somewhere in that realm. That's about where that timeline sits. I mean, we can do some searches and verify that, but I think that's around where what we're talking about, that era.
Okay.
Maybe I will look it up.
Yeah. There was a few moments in here that really had me laughing, though. Specifically, the really one that had me laughing the most was when they had all of those AI robots watching Lassie to like deprogram them.
So good.
I was like, that is so clever. Like, what could the computers watch to make them not be so angry? Lassie. Who doesn't love Lassie, And the fact that Lassie is still around 400 years from now, people are watching Lassie to chill out.
Yeah, well, they're chilling them out. Exactly. They got to, these are megalomaniacal, evil AI guys. They need to relax.
I would have liked to see like Up Next, Little House on the Prairie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because then that came out around the same time as Lassie.
All right. So, got it figured out here. Yeah, in-universe date for Star Trek First Contact, the movie, is 2373. And the in-universe date for when Lower Decks starts is 2380. Now, being that this is season 4, we can assume it's somewhere around 2383. So it's about 10 years after Star Trek First Contact takes place, and maybe like 6-ish or 6 or 7 years after Deep Space Nine ends. That's around where the era is. So I think Jake Sisko was maybe 21 when Deep Space Nine ended. So in Lower Decks season 4, he's probably around 27, 28, 29 in that realm, I think. I think that's our window. And I always forget, I always have to redo this math because it's hard to kind of, with so many shows going, it's hard to remember exactly what year they're all in. Discovery's out in like 31 something. So that's an even 31, whatever.
Hey, so wait a minute. So I thought Voyager was like lost in space though, but during the same timeline?
Yeah, it's the same era.
Okay.
So, for example, while say season 7 of Deep Space Nine is happening, Voyager season, let's say around 4, is happening. Season 3 or season 4 of Voyager is happening concurrently, but just way out in the Delta Quadrant. So Deep Space Nine is handling here at home, and Voyager's way out there.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is I think we should take a break and collect ourselves.
Yeah,
I'm in some serious cobwebs right now. I'm like, this is so fun and nerdy for me that I'm like, I'm just like saying, okay, and then there's this and this. And I'm like, this is the kind of shit that I do at 2 a.m. Like I gotta take a break, or I'm gonna do this for like 2 hours right now. So let's take a real quick break. We're gonna look up the Drukmani captain, and we will be right back on the 7th rule, unless we just keep researching.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the 7th rule with Cirroc Lofton.
Hello, hello.
Here's what you've all been waiting for. The trivioids of the week. They're like, we weren't waiting for that a damn bit. Here they are. Badgey tickles a Drukmani captain. Some Binar lower deckers have an argument. The Cerritos is the closest ship to the Binar system. Peanut Hamper has been a model inmate and is up for parole. Instead of organics, what Lord Tyrannochilus really needs to subjugate are his feelings. Tyrannochilus has conquered self-doubt and seized personal growth. Apparently, life forms are as easy to grow as they are to annihilate, says Agamus. Peanut Hamper is cellmate 858. Rutherford gives his son a hug. All Orion beaches have are sharp little pebbles. Agamus took over Plumeria in record time, and Peanut Hamper's dad's name is Kevin. Same name as that dodo bird or whatever it was in the Disney movie Up, if I remember correctly. Kevin.
Okay.
So we looked up J.G. Hertzler. We checked out the end credits for this episode. It turns out it was not J.G., but it was somebody doing a very good Drukmani captain in the vein of J.G. Hertzler. Since he was the first Drukmani voice we heard, they kind of used that as a model. And it turns out he wasn't in 2 episodes. He was in 3. Looking him up right now, he was in season 1, episode 6, Terminal Provocations, as the Drukmani captain. Then he was also in A Mathematically Perfect Redemption as the Drukmani captain. Those were the 2. But he was also in season 3, episode 2, The Least Dangerous Game, as himself, but not as himself, as Martok, which feels like himself, General Martok, when he was that game. Anyway, it worked out well. Great voiceover for the Drukmani captain in every iteration.
Great voiceover. Yeah, and also I thought another voiceover work that stood out to me was Rutherford. I thought did also a great job. He has this way of hitting certain notes that I feel is difficult to hit for just anybody emotionally. The way he throws things away, it's kind of like it's a flippant, kind of silly, smart, dumb thing to say. I don't know how to put it in words, but he has a way of delivering it that's really unique. But the person that I wanted to give credit to was the Badgey voices. The multiple voices of Badgey did give me the feelings delegated to each one of those, right? So the good one had that good vibe voice, and the logical one really had me laughing when, that is illogical. So shout out to the voiceover actors that played the different variations of Badgey.
Yeah, and it was fun. Overall, it was fun. Like they always come up with these funny ideas. They're like, okay, there's Badgey, there's Goodgey. And then we're like, oh, that's funny, that's clever, that's cool. And they're like, but wait, there's more. They give us logic-y. Like they're always giving us one more, and not just one-upping Star Trek. They're not just taking Star Trek and making jokes out of that, but they're one-upping themselves, which is really smart to do. In this case with Logic-y, they're always figuring out how can we take it one step further. They take it one step further from regular Star Trek, and then take it another step further from themselves. And I thought that was great. Peanut Hamper was, oh my God, the relationship between Peanut Hamper and Agamus. Like, how do they write such in-depth stories with not just with Badgey and Rutherford and everything that's going on there, but then you also have Agamus and Peanut Hamper. We got an entire story arc, right?
Yeah, like a love story.
Yeah, a whole story. They're like in love. They want to take over the galaxy together. Then it turns out she disappears, and Agamus is sad and lonely. And he's like, "What's the point? Who cares?" Then he meets her again, and she's like, "Well, I didn't really want to take these things over." And he's like, "I just want to be with you." And it's like, how did they cram this entire story arc in maybe what amounted to be like 4 minutes between the two of them in total for the whole episode?
Amazing job. That's why the writers are really on top of their game. This one was Edgar Montplaisir, like you said, but the pace was amazing. The whole like Daystrom Institute, you need to go down there. The AI, we got to pry information out of them. The whole Agamus is asking for you as the meat pipe, the lanky meat pipe or whatever he called him. So Agamus is asking for him. The whole fact that they get parole hearings for AI mischieving robots that they like that they can come out and try to convince a panel that they need to be released. That is a hilarious idea just in itself. The whole blue light idea had me rolling, like
because it worked. Like it's true when he flipped to blue light, you're like, oh yeah, he does look like way chill now. He looks like a nice guy all of a sudden. And then he's like red, and you're like, oh, I can tell. Oh, he's bad. Watch, I can tell. And then he's blue. You're like, well, I don't know. Let's hear him out. He seems like he's just misunderstood.
Exactly. So yeah, I could just picture Troy saying, "Captain, I sense that he's chilled out now." Like, yeah, no shit. He's got the blue light.
Yeah, he's the blue light special. Everybody knows that means he's a sweetie now, or he's misunderstood.
Oh, yeah. So I thought that was hilarious, just the trope on the light color. It made me think of just those different household devices, the Alexas and Amazon, whatever they are, in everybody's house, and the light mood colors. Sometimes you can change.
You know, that's so funny you mentioned that, because I didn't even make the connection. I've actually experienced this in my own home just a few days ago, which is I have this little portable air purifier, right? And it's just plugged into my wall about 8 feet away here. And it just goes, it's got different settings. You know, when it's nighttime, you put it on quiet. You know, during the day, you can have it louder or whatever. And it's got this little blue light. So even at night, the lights are off. You just see this little blue light, air purifiers doing its job. And you're like, oh, you little sweetie, you even work while I sleep, buddy. Thanks. Now, of course, the robot rights people are like, let him sleep too. Let him unplug him. And I'm like, no, he's got to work all night while I sleep. If I wake up and it's not going, I'm going to be pissed. But anyway, here's the point. A few days ago, that blue light was accompanied by a bigger, brighter red light. And suddenly there's this red light that came on, and it kind of looks ominous. It kind of looks scary. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but I'm positive it's something bad. And I'm like, it can't be the battery because it's plugged in. I'm assuming it means it's like the user's manual is probably like 4 sentences long, and I'm still too lazy to read it. I'm assuming it means something like change the filter or clean the filter, or, you know what I mean? What else could it possibly be? But of course I'm not going to do it. I'm too lazy. But the point is, when I see it, it takes me by surprise. I see it, I'm like, oh, something's wrong. Like immediately, just the red light makes me feel like there's something ominous, there's something wrong. It grabs my attention. Whereas when it's blue, it's just kind of like, oh, thanks, buddy, you're taking care of me. It really is a real thing, and that little rascal is still sitting over there, kind of creeping me out. It's my story. It's true.
And you're sticking to it.
It's totally true too. It's so funny. I didn't even make that connection until you said that.
Yeah, I mean that's the mood lighting. That's what it does. You know, it seems like now that you said that, now I can see that the binars behind you like to subscribe to the same mood lighting that Cirroc does. You know, they use purple light bulbs.
Right. And it's about time. You know, you've been doing this using that for almost 3 years, Binar. Did I say Binar? I meant by now. But yeah, you're right. Same lighting. By the way, everybody, we'd like to remind all of you to please like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you're listening in wherever you listen to your podcast, please subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, and leave us a nice review. We'd really appreciate that. If you'd like to know every time we're going to release a new episode, hit that notification bell icon, and that way you'll be notified on YouTube every time we release a new episode. Also, lastly, if you're listening in, you're getting this from the 7th Rule 2 podcast. We also have our regular flagship show, The 7th Rule, with no number after it, and that houses all of our Deep Space Nine episodes, Deep Space Nine deep dives, and all of our new Next Generation episodes. We're currently on season 2 of the Next Generation, and it is a wild ride. A lot of ups and some downs. But enough about that. Thanks very much for your support, everybody. Back to the show.
Yeah. One of the lines I loved was the logic key when he says, actually, the third law of thermodynamics, and then he gets his back broken. Had me laughing. And I don't know, I thought about you on this one. Maybe you can tell me if this jumped out at you or not. But when Jeffrey Combs says, he's watering the grass or whatever it was, and he says, taste wet sustenance.
Mm.
I thought that was hilarious, and I feel like Jeffrey had a lot of fun with this one. Maybe, I feel like he had a lot of fun with this one. It seemed like he was enjoying himself.
This guy's made for voiceover, Jeff Combs. His regular acting is amazing because of his facial expressions and his body language, but his voiceover work is still amazing. Like, you would think that it would take something away because he's also a physical actor, but he does great. The way he pronounces words and he adds little ellipses, and he really acts the hell out of these roles, even if he's only got 10 lines or something like that. So he's doing a great job, and it's very noticeable.
Did you notice that the stem bolts got a little shot out? Little stem bolt and chill.
I missed that.
Yeah, Rutherford at the end, he says, pass me the stem bolt.
No way, I missed that. I'm so mad. I'm going to hit myself with a pain stick now. What I heard was when Badgey was leaving and he was all enlightened, he said, I don't know, maybe I'll go check out the Q continuum, go visit the Black Mountain. And the Black Mountain was something our good friend and associate producer, Dr. Anne-Marie Seagull, did a little research on, because we know it's been mentioned a couple times before in Lower Decks. But what I didn't know was it's also featured in all of Mike McMahon's shows, like Solar Opposites mentions the Black Mountain, and Rick and Morty mentions the Black Mountain. So it's almost like the McMahon verse has the Black Mountain. That's like his thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, nice little interesting tidbit.
Do they reveal the Black Mountain in his other shows? I wonder if they reveal it, or if this is all culminating a 3-show climax into what Black Mountain is.
I don't know, but it did make my mind wander into like, I hope we can like connect the 3 shows in one of these episodes, has like a crossover or something. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
But so stem bolts, I'm so mad at myself for missing that.
Yeah, Rutherford says, pass me the stem bolt. And I was like, oh, stem bolt's got a shout out. And then the other thing we learned in this episode was the information that Agamus actually did provide, which was that the ships that we've been seeing in the opening credits of these episodes, I was under the impression that all these ships are being destroyed or annihilated with some kind of laser beam.
Right, that's what it looked like.
But apparently that's not the case, and that these ships are actually being stolen or taken hostage or hijacked or whatever.
Yeah, what I don't understand is how we're seeing debris then. How are we finding debris if the ships are being stolen, not destroyed? What's the debris from? Or maybe that's just some kind of red herring or something, where we're seeing debris from a busted up ship, so we assume it's that ship that was stolen, and maybe it's not. But right, I mean, the Drukmani captain's finding debris in space junk, so we just assume. He even said it was the Binars, actually. So maybe Agamus is just throwing them off the scent, because there was a Binar ship that was destroyed, and then the Drukmani's salvage ship found some Binar wreckage. So
yeah, unless whatever technology is doing this is leaving artificial wreckage as like some kind of.
But then they found Badgey from that. That's really confusing. At first, I just ate it up. Was like, oh, that's interesting. But now that you mention it, I'm like thinking about it. I don't see how that works. Two quick things though, that when they asked Badgey how he can float around the ship instead of the holodeck, he said, I've got holo emitters everywhere. Holo emitter is also from Voyager. The EMH doctor had a holo emitter that let him walk around in later seasons. So that was a nice little interesting thing. But yeah, back to this. I wonder what the solution, because we've also seen examples of when we think something is being destroyed, but it's really been transported. For example, in one of my favorite Next Generation episodes, it's a two-parter I mentioned all the time, Gambit, parts 1 and 2, they're talking to a Uridian, I believe, and they're looking for Captain Picard. I love Uridians. They're like information smugglers. They're like wrinkly prune face guys. James Cromwell played one once. And they ask him, they're like, you saw what happened to, Picard. And he said, yeah, he was vaporized. They shot him and he was vaporized. But it turns out that their weapon, they shoot somebody and they can transport somebody with the laser rather, so I think of that when they're saying that it was stolen instead. But yeah, I don't get the wreckage mystery then.
Yeah, it's a mystery that I'm sure will be addressed not too far in the distant future, because we're coming up close to that. I got the Star Wars vibe when they were like, I'm your father, the whole Badgey, Rutherford. And then when he, I love when Badgey says, and I've never killed anyone.
Yeah, he's a rascal, that one.
Yeah. It's a good episode,
I do want to point out one more thing, just because that's how us Star Trek fans work. There was another example, not to keep mentioning Voyager, but there was another example where with the Vidians, this crazy, ugly aliens, they've got this sickness called the phage that just makes them, it's kind of like leprosy or something, right? And so their weapons transport specific organs out of people that they need to sustain their race, so they zapped Neelix and transported his lungs right out of him, and so that's an interesting thing. So anyway, so that's a possibility where something looks like it's been destroyed, but really it's just been stolen.
So we'll see then if Agnes is telling the truth or not. Not too, a little bit.
Yeah, everybody in the comments below, let us know your theory. Is Agamis telling the truth, or is the evidence telling the truth? Because we're seeing evidence, which is the debris of the ship. What's the story there? What's the answer? We have 3 more episodes that will explain everything, certainly, but this is definitely a mystery the more you think about it. So let us know your thoughts on this mystery, because I'm kind of mad now.
Yeah. Another moment that I really enjoyed too was when Agamis was meeting Peanut Hamper's dad, and Peanut Hamper's dad said beep burp, 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 burp. And Peanut Hamper was like, Dad.
and Agamis like, no, just friends.
just friends. That had me rolling. And actually thought
he should have met Raw Dog if he thought that was bad. Raw Dog was doing all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, this is it was clever and cute that they had a love story involved in there. I thought that was great. The whole meet me over here rendezvous spot. It was just clever. It was clever. I would have liked to see a little bit more from our main characters. I felt like we didn't get as much Ransom or Shax or Billups, who had he made like a quick cameo.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. This was very heavy on, Agamis, Peanut Hamper, and Badgey, and much less about the main lower deckers and even less about the senior staff. But, you know, I was okay with it just because it's just the one episode. You know, they do a good job of fleshing these guys out, and this is a second episode in a row with no T'Lyn, now that you mention it, right? She was in like the first 5 episodes and then suddenly not in 6 and 7. Maybe she's on sabbatical. I wonder if sabbatical is based off the word Shabbat. Now that I think about it, you know, or like the Saturday, you know, the Sabbath, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, who knows? I should
Pretty
go.
sure.
Okay, well, here's the thing, everybody. We're going to give some special thanks to some amazing people right now because they deserve it. And their names are
Homer.
This is what we should do. Everybody in the live chat, guess all these people that we're naming, or whichever ones you want to pick, guess what their favorite Star Trek series is. Like Homer Frizzell, you know, the animated series, obviously. Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Deep Space Nine. Anyway, so here are their names. Homer Frizzell, Dr. Anne-Marie Siegel, Eve England out in Wales. I know she's Enterprise, actually. Weird. Yvette Blackman Tom, TJ Jackson Bay out in Missouri. I think he's Enterprise is his second, and Deep Space Nine is his first. Bill Victor Arukin. Our good pal Titus Muller, Darlena Marie, Dr. Muhammad Noor, Tierney C. Diekman, Anna Post, Anil O. Palat, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, DQ, Stephanie Baker. I think Mike Gu and Stephanie are probably Voyagers. Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, my live from Tokyo, the Matt Boardman, Chris McGee, Justin Weir, our good pal Jake Barrett, Jane Jorgensen, Henry Unger, Allison Leach Hyde, Julie Manisfee, by the way, Marcia Classic Schreier, Greg K. Wickstrom, and of course, 2 big-time original series fans, Dr. Susan V. Gruner and Jason Oken. All right. Overall, any final thoughts, Cirroc? What do you think? Did you like this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. It had little treats in here and there. Yeah, I liked it. It wasn't my favorite of the season so far, but it was definitely entertaining. It had me watching a lot, and there's moments where I find myself looking down at the paper, and it was happening fast. Like all of these episodes, and they squeeze so much stuff in such a short amount of time that you almost don't have much time to look away. Otherwise, you'll miss the stem bolts, or you'll miss this, or you'll miss that. And, that's how much information they give you. So I was pleased. Like the guest stars, always happy to see Jeffrey Combs, get a chance to do another character. And so, yeah, what about you?
I mean, we're happy for Jeff Combs to get more work, but we're also happy for us to enjoy his work because he's freaking phenomenal. Yeah. I did like the episode. I like that Lower Decks does a really good job of not being formulaic. They do, and that's a conscious effort in that the first episode of this season, they had, that little piece of, whatever the Romulans getting killed or whatever it was. Then the second episode at the beginning, they had that piece of the Romulans getting killed or whatever. So we think, okay, we know the pattern. Third episode didn't have it at all. Fourth episode had it at the end. The fifth or sixth episode, there was the one with the Ferengi was kind of in the middle. It was kind of like part of the story, or whatever it was. In this one, there was a cold open and then the Bynars were later. Like, it's great that they're having they're having fun with, creating a new formula every time, or, and right, like you said, they keep you guessing. So I think it's very sophisticated writing. It's very smart. It's well done, well put together. The artistry's fun. Everybody involved has been great. So yeah, I like this episode because this one was also a new formula. Where this one was mostly these other characters, and they were fun characters. And that's all I have to say about that.
That's it. Also, one last add-on is I really did like the peanut hamper practicing the parole hearing speech that she was going to give. That was also another joy for me. Her putting on her show for that. But yeah, and I want to know now: is Jeffrey Combs officially ahead in the count on Star Trek guest appearances and episodes? Has he officially passed Vaughn Armstrong with this newest episode? Because I know he was very close to tying Vaughn or passing him. So they're got to be closer now because of this.
Yeah, I think Jeff Combs has done 8 or maybe 9 characters. I think somewhere around 8. And Vaughn is right around there too. You know, Jeff is more about aliens and Vaughn is kind of a mix. That's interesting.
Yeah, but I mean just appearances in episodes. Wonder how many episodes total.
That's something for us to somebody in the comments below count those up. All of the shows combined, all of the appearances. You're talking about just not just characters, but appearances, right?
Right. Well, the total appearances, and let us know in the chat description about what you who comes up with the most.
Well, I can say right now, Jeffrey Combs was in 3 episodes of Lower Decks so far. And I think he was in 11 episodes of Enterprise, so that's 14. I believe he was in 1 episode of Voyager. Yeah, 1 episode of Voyager, that's 15. 32 of Deep Space Nine, putting him at a total of 47. The magic number. Yes, 47. The magic Star Trek number. Wow. That number just keeps on giving, doesn't it?
Number 47.
That is the number.
Wasn't Aaron did 47, right?
Yes. Our good buddy and our guiding light, Aaron Eisenberg, did exactly 47 episodes of Deep Space Nine. And Patrick Stewart was 47 when he started playing Captain Picard, which is also interesting. So let's look up Vaughn Armstrong real quick, because now I'm very curious. So he did 18 episodes of Enterprise.
Okay.
He did 5 episodes of Voyager. These are all like various characters. So that's 23, right? Let's see. He's still at 23. Yeah, I think Jeff is going to beat him. Where's the Deep Space Nine ones? 3 episodes of Deep Space Nine. So that puts him at, what was it? He was 26. At 23. So that's 26. And I think, how many of Next Generation is the last one? It's only a couple. 1, just 1, Commander Chorus. So that's 27 to 47. So, but in different series. I think Jeff Combs was in 4 series, and Vaughn might be in 4 series as well. So anyway, what a battle. What a battle, everybody. All right. That's it for us. All right. Let's get out of here and go about our days. Everybody, congratulations to Star Trek Prodigy. We will see you next time. And until then, always remember the 7th rule.